You may have heard the term, I may have even used it here before, entering the stream. It's an important concept in Buddhism. The Pali word is satipana, and it's considered a significant milestone on our path. In fact, it's considered the first step toward reducing our suffering. It is where we begin to gain a profound understanding of the Dharma and begin to transcend these patterns of suffering known as samsara. While the term carries real spiritual significance, its practical application, which is what we emphasize here, is equally important. So understanding this term, entering the stream, from a practical perspective, really allows us to integrate the essence of the concept into our modern lives. So we see that it offers us a sense of clarity, a sense of purpose, and a sense of inner peace. And I hope to make that clear. In traditional Buddhist teachings, a stream enterer, we use a lot of river and water metaphors. A stream enterer is someone who has broken free from the first of three of what are called the 10 fetters. And these are false views, such as self is a fixed self, doubt in the teachings, attachments to rites and rituals as ends in themselves. So in Buddhism, a mental fetter is a chain or a bond that shackles us to suffering. And we won't go into all of them today, but I will just share with you how they are spelled out in the Pali Canon. So there's 10 of them. The first one is the belief in a fixed self, which we often talk about. The second one is doubt or uncertainty about the teachings themselves. This one I find interesting. The third one is attachment to rites or rituals. Fourth one is sensual desire. Some of these overlap with the hindrances. Fourth one is sensual desire. The fifth one is ill will. The sixth one is lust for material existence. The seventh is lust for immaterial existence. The seventh is conceit, the sense of self-importance. The ninth, that was the eighth. The ninth is restlessness, and the 10th is ignorance or delusion. So the Buddha described these 10 fetters as mental chains which bind us to suffering, and by overcoming them, we begin to align our daily lives with the Dharma, with what he called the truth of existence. However, the entering the stream is not about achieving perfection in these fetters. It's not about living an ascetic life. Instead, it's about taking that very first irreversible step on the path to freedom. He uses the metaphor, it's like discovering a river that leads to the ocean and stepping into the current, the ocean being that ultimate freedom. From this point onward, the flow of the river will guide us toward the ultimate goal. Now, on a practical level, entering the stream means making a conscious commitment to practice the Dharma, to live with mindfulness, to live with ethical integrity, and to live with a deeper understanding, a embodied understanding of life's impermanent and interconnected nature. So all that said, I would suggest to you that all of us here are stream enterers, because each of us enters the stream in our own way and on our own schedule. There's no prescribed way to do this. It's just each of us have stepped into the water at our own pace, in our own way, and our own schedule. The Buddhist teaching emphasized that the path to entering the stream is accessible to anyone willing to practice sincerely. It's not just reserved for monks. It's not just reserved for advanced meditators. It is open to anyone and everyone who wishes to reduce the suffering and cultivate wisdom in their lives. So I want to talk about a few of the practical steps that may characterize stream entering. The first one is just developing right view. The first step of the Noble Eightfold Path is foundational to entering the stream because it involves seeing reality more clearly rather than through the lens of ignorance or delusion, without distortions, without self-serving stories that we tell ourselves. stripping away all of that. Practically, this means studying and embracing the Buddha's teachings on impermanence. When we truly see impermanence, we're not seeing it from a delusional perspective. The Buddha's teachings on suffering and the origins of suffering, and the Buddha's teachings on non-self or emptiness, all of which we've talked about here recently. These three things are what he called the three marks of existence: impermanence, suffering, and non-self. And we reflect on how these truths play out or manifest in our daily lives. For example, when we're faced with a loss or when we're faced with a profound change, yes, we're hit hard with it, but we remind ourselves of the transient nature of all things, which reduces our clinging and attachment and therefore reduces the extent of our suffering from that loss or that change. So that's right view. The next step, sort of preliminary step on entering the stream, is cultivating ethical conduct. Ethical conduct, which is grounded in the five precepts, the five lay precepts, is another cornerstone of entering the stream. And you'll remember that those five precepts are commitments to abstain from killing living beings, abstain from stealing, abstain from engaging in sexual misconduct, abstaining from lying, and abstaining from intoxication. By refraining from harming others, speaking truthfully, and living with integrity, we begin to create the conditions for inner peace. We're not always having to justify and wrestle with ourselves to justify unethical behavior. For example, practicing non-harming might involve something as simple as choosing our words carefully in a heated argument, so we ensure that we don't cause unnecessary pain to others. We use right speech. So that's the whole idea of ethical conduct. Then, of course, we have our old friends, mindfulness and meditation, those being the practical tools that help us gain clarity about how we see the world. When we observe our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions without judgment, we develop insight into the causes of much of our suffering. We develop insight into how to let that go. A simple practice like mindful breathing, like taking a pause, practicing a moment of mindful breathing, can anchor us in the present moment. These are not heavy-duty practices. If we're sitting at a stoplight, we can just take a moment to breathe mindfully, anchor us in the present moment, bring us back to the present moment. And doing this helps us keep a level, equanimous state of mind where we respond to life's challenges with wisdom rather than reactivity. Next up is letting go of doubt. Remember, we said one of the fetters is doubt about the teachings. Doubt in the Buddha, doubt in the Dharma, doubt in the Sangha. These are all fetters that must be overcome to enter the stream. Sharon Salzberg talks about faith. She doesn't mean faith in some divine being. She means faith in the Buddha, faith in the Dharma, faith in the Sangha as the vehicles which lead us on our path. And this doesn't mean, as I said, blind faith. It means seeing these in action. It involves cultivating confidence through personal experience. Oh, I understood the Buddha's teachings on this. I applied it. Oh, my suffering went down. It's like a data-driven, if you will, form of practice. As we apply the teachings in our lives, see the transformative effects such as reduced anxiety, better problem solving, increased compassion, our trust in the path naturally improves, it naturally strengthens. So when we find doubt creeping in, we try to counter it with the confidence of the progress that we've already made on the path. Then we have releasing attachment to fixed views. This is a very important one. One of the most liberating aspects of entering the stream is letting go of rigid beliefs about the self and about the world. Bringing some humility into play, not holding on so tightly to what we think is the right way. This might mean questioning deeply held assumptions about who we are or what brings us happiness. For example, if we hold tightly to the belief that more material possessions will bring us happiness, we have to look at that and maybe release that fixed view. Instead of clinging to the idea that success or material possessions will bring us lasting satisfaction. Instead, we explore the joy that arises from generosity, from kindness, and contentment in the present moment. From a practical standpoint, the transition to entering the stream is marked by noticeable shifts in perspective and behavior. We begin to see things differently. We begin to behave differently. A stream enterer is said to be free from the extreme suffering caused by harmful views and by clinging. And while, of course, challenges and difficulties still arise, but we meet them with a newfound resilience. We meet them with clarity in facing them. We change our relationship with our challenges. They don't go away, but we respond to them differently. We change our response to those challenges. For example, someone who has entered the stream might experience the same setbacks as another person: relationship ending, job loss, health issues. But our understanding of impermanence and interdependence allows us to investigate and navigate these situations with greater equanimity and greater wisdom. And then furthermore, entering the stream gives us a sense of purpose and direction. It's like a roadmap. We make a commitment to the path. We're not just aimlessly wandering through life, sort of like bouncing off the walls, bound and whipped around by fleeting desires and aversions, just whichever way the winds are blowing. We are more grounded. We are aligned with the deeper truths of existence. This is the power of this path, which is living with compassion, mindfulness, and a commitment to spiritual growth. And this alignment, I love this, transforms even mundane activities into opportunities for practice and awakening. And boy, in this fast-paced, social media-driven world, the idea of entering the stream can seem lofty, it can seem unattainable, but we start with small steps. The beauty of the Buddha's teaching lies in their practicality and adaptability. It happens right now. We don't need a monastery. We don't need to spend years in a Himalayan cave in meditation to participate in this journey. We start by incorporating small but meaningful changes into our daily lives, for just responding differently to a frustration, to just a hiccup that we've come upon. We pause, we take a mindful breath. We choose kindness over anger. We reflect on the impermanence of a challenging situation. The stream is always flowing. So the opportunity to step into it is ever present. It is always flowing. By committing to live with greater awareness, by committing to live with ethical integrity and an open heart, these are the first steps toward greater freedom. Each moment is a chance to deepen our understanding, to cultivate compassion, and to move closer to the ultimate goal of reduced suffering. This entering the stream is not some abstract concept reserved for very advanced spiritual practitioners. It is a practical, transformative step that all of us can take by just aligning our thoughts, words, and deeds with the truth of the Dharma. We do a periodic check-in. Is this response consistent with the teachings? By developing right view, by practicing mindfulness, by living ethically, we begin to free ourselves from the mental habits, those well-worn habits that perpetuate suffering. Now, it's not always easy, but with each step, each baby step, we move closer to a life of wisdom, peace, and freedom. The stream is there for all of us. All we have to do is seek it. All we have to do is enter it. It is there ready to guide us toward that vast ocean of greater freedom and reduce suffering. So that is the concept of entering the stream and stream enterers that the Buddha taught.